You are a toy!
On January 19th, 1993, production started on one of the most memorable animation films ever created.
Star Command, come in, Star
A
Command.
story about toys.
Star Command, come in. Do you read me?
A Toy Story, if you will.
Walt Disney Pictures presents the first ever computer animated feature film.
Code Red, we are Code Red.
To infinity and beyond!
Toy Story. Rated G.
This was a big deal for a company still young trying to prove itself. And that company was Pixar.
All the animation in Toy Story came from computers, technology developed and perfected by an East Bay company called Pixar.
In 1986, Steve Jobs bought the studio for $10 million.
I ended up buying them. I met Ed, and Ed told me his dream was to make the world's first computer animated film. And I bought into that dream, both sort of spiritually and financially. And together, we started Pixar in 1986.
And that same year, their first product, the Pixar Image Computer, a machine with more computational power that was able to produce images with higher resolution, coming from a company who was looking to transition from producing computer hardware to creating animated films.
To infinity and beyond!
And so, they used that Pixar creation to produce a short film called Luxo Jr.
I went to John and said, can we do an animated short that's a Pixar short?
Let's do something that really says who we are.
Written and directed by John Lasseter, the 2-minute short film revolves around one larger and one smaller desk lamp. The larger lamp, named Luxo Sr., looks on while the smaller, younger Luxo Jr. plays with a ball to the extent that it accidentally deflates it. This film won the Best Animated Short at the 1986 Academy Awards and gave Pixar a much-needed boost in the eyes of the film industry.
As soon as the lamp moved, people started going crazy. And then the ball came in and they were going nuts. And I remember actually shrinking down in my chair, getting a little frightened, thinking, what's going to happen when the funny part gets here?
It's only a minute and a half long. Before it was done, people were giving it a standing ovation.
Poor Gary Rydstrom, his wonderful sound work was never heard at that screening because the crowd was just literally screaming their heads off.
And I just smiled and I thought, we did it.
As Pixar was developing its brand, Disney was testing out new means of video production. In 1991, Disney started working with Tim Burton and Henry Selick on the first film ever produced outside of Disney Studios. It was a stop-motion picture involving a Halloween skeleton who discovers something a bit more jolly.
Can't believe my eyes, I must be dreaming. Wake up, Jack, this isn't fair! What's this?
It was called
The Nightmare Before Christmas.
It is because of this successful partnership that Disney felt comfortable with the idea of potentially working with another studio. Disney and Pixar made a $26 million deal to produce 3 movies together. This partnership was a huge deal for Pixar. Success could launch them to great heights, but failure would mean almost certain destruction.
The goal of this group has been to do an animated feature from the day I started.
It was the first feature any of us had any weighty creative control over. And we just never thought about that because that would just get too intimidating.
Lasseter and his team started brainstorming ideas for a film that would showcase the capabilities of computer animation while also delivering a heartfelt and engaging narrative. They eventually came up with the concept of Toy Story, a story about the secret lives of toys when humans are not around.
And we were inspired from Tin Toy with the ideas that we had developed in there of toys being alive. So we came up with the idea for the buddy picture with 2 toys.
But Toy Story was going to be a new type of film, one that required a bit of extra work, and unknown work at that. This wasn't just an average project, it was a whole new concept. This was to be the first ever completely computer animated feature-length film. The technology to pull this off did not exist.
We didn't think it was possible 10 years ago. Our software wasn't ready. Our brains weren't ready, we hadn't honed our skills in storytelling and that kind of stuff. The computers we used weren't fast enough.
But this was something Pixar wanted to accomplish, which meant if the technology didn't exist, it was time to make it. And that is exactly what Pixar did.
The definition of animation is to give life to, And to me, one of the definitions of character animation is that an object moving around his actions have got to appear as though they're driven by its own thought process. So our system is designed for an animator, traditionally trained animator, to interact with a computer in a way that was easy, convenient, had all the hooks and bells and whistles that they were used to with hand-drawn animation or puppet animation.
It's interesting to learn about studios' original concept for stories. Oftentimes, these initial ideas seem outrageous when compared to the final delivered product. Pixar and Disney are no exception. They experimented with various storylines and character designs, refining their ideas through storyboards and animatics.
We made this test because a lot of people thought that an audience would not sit through 70 minutes of computer animation. People were used to hand-drawn animation, and I knew that when our imagery was lit, textured, and rendered, no one had ever seen anything like this before.
Star Command! Do you read me?
Buzz Lightyear responding, read you loud and clear.
Buzz Lightyear, planet Earth needs your help!
On the way!
Lovable cowboy sheriff Woody was supposed to be, well, not so lovable. As the first fully recognized character in the Toy Story universe, Woody underwent several transformations before becoming the beloved cowboy we know today. In the initial concept for Toy Story, Woody was envisioned as a ventriloquist dummy and was classified as the villain of the story.
Woody, the older toy, was based on him. This is my Casper from when I was a little boy. This is probably 37 years old. And see, he has a pull string. See, that's "Can I stay with you?" It's like a parent understanding their child's, words. See, that's "I'm a friendly ghost."
We felt it makes sense that Woody doesn't look immediately like a kid's favorite toy.
Woody was so unlikable that production was actually put on hold until his character was recreated and approved by Disney. To keep the project from falling through, Steve Jobs had to fund the film until Disney was back on board. The creative team at Pixar decided to shift Woody's character to a traditional cowboy figure.
Then that made us think, well, maybe the old toy shouldn't be a ventriloquist dummy with top hat and tails. It was Bud Lucky that said, well, why don't you make him a cowboy? And I thought, that's perfect. You've got the frontier of space and then the frontier of the West.
They studied iconic Western films and drew inspiration from legendary cowboy figures like John Wayne. To bring Woody to life, Tom Hanks was cast as the voice actor for the character.
No one's getting replaced. This is Andy we're talking about. Doesn't matter how much we're played with. What matters is we're here for Andy when he needs us. That's what we're made for, right?
Hanks' voice acting added depth and charm to Woody's personality, making him a lovable and memorable character.
Buzz Lightyear! Any other toy would give up his moving parts just to be you. You got wings. You glow in the dark. Your helmet does that whoosh thing.
But Buzz Lightyear was a different story entirely. The filmmakers sought to introduce a new toy character that would contrast with the traditional cowboy figure of Woody.
We actually went through all of our favorite toys and added everything we could think of.
And everybody had their own coolest toy, but we tried to incorporate as many things as we could into one toy.
We started out with the name Lunar Larry, but then it evolved to Tempest from Morph, and ultimately became Buzz Lightyear.
The team came up with the idea to create a character inspired by science fiction and space exploration, capturing the excitement and wonder of space travel while also contrasting Woody's character greatly. Visually, Buzz Lightyear's design was inspired by various sci-fi aesthetics. The creative team at Pixar drew inspiration from characters like Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers, and the iconic design of spacesuits worn by astronauts. To give voice to Buzz Lightyear, the filmmakers enlisted the talent of actor Tim Allen.
Responsible for delaying my rendezvous with Star Command. Buzz Lightyear mission log. The local sheriff and I seem to be at a huge refueling station of some sort.
Allen's energetic and comedic delivery helped bring Buzz to life, infusing the character with charm and humor.
Sheriff, this is no time to panic. No, because of you, the security of the entire universe is in jeopardy.
Disney loves musicals, and during production, came to Pixar with a few songs they thought should be included. But Pixar shut that idea down immediately. The movie turned out perfectly fine with just Randy Newman's contribution.
You're my favorite deputy.
Disney writers also didn't seem to get that the film was about toys, not the children who played with the toys. The scriptwriters kept adding more human characters, shifting the focus of the story, until along comes this guy, Joss Whedon, who took over the writing and made the film what it is today. Toy Story was finally released on November 22nd, 1995. It grossed $192 million in the US alone, and $356 million worldwide. But the main thing that stands out to them is the lasting impressions it has left on the people.
We're very proud of it. It's something I believe in strongly, and this is something I personally as a filmmaker learned from Walt Disney. Walt Disney always said, for every laugh there should be a tear. I think it's a heart that sticks with people, and they really love these characters, and that's the thing that I really take great pride in. 5 days after Toy Story came out in movie theaters in 1995, I was on a trip with my family, and we were changing planes in the Dallas-Fort Worth airport. I got off the airplane, and it was back when families could wait for their loved ones at the gate. I got off the airplane, and there in front of me was a mother with her 4-year-old son, and this little boy was holding a Woody the Cowboy doll. 5 days after the movie came out. And it dawned on me at that moment, in looking at this little boy's face, that Woody didn't belong to me anymore. He belonged to him.
Toy Story has been recognized as Pixar's best film. It was the film that elevated the studio to where they are today, formed an unparalleled relationship between themselves and Disney, and transformed the way we experience animation today. It helped inspire animators to go outside the industry norm and not be afraid to experiment with other animation styles. Most importantly, the story of these toys is timeless. Plus, who doesn't want to connect with our inner child every once in a while? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you at the movies.